I have two posters accepted for this conference. One is an e-poster talking about the myeloma trends at my center, National Hospital Abuja. And the second poster focused on the seroprevalence of cytomegalovirus infection among blood donors at National Hospital Abuja. These posters addressed some of the major issues that affect hematology practice in my center. The first one on multiple myeloma looked at the clinical presentation of our patients and the complications they present with, the most common symptoms they have, and the time interval between the onset of the disease or symptoms and when they get to be diagnosed with multiple myeloma. And we found out that that is actually significant in terms of their response to treatment. We felt we needed to share that with the BSH and also the Haematology Society. Also, the seroprevalence looked at how common is the CMV infection among blood donors, with a view at looking at methods of screening, how much products are going to be available. And we found out that the immunoglobulin G was more prevalent among our donors, and it was over 90%, while that of IgM, which is immunoglobulin M, was found in about 40% of donors, meaning that about 40% of our donors were recently exposed to cytomegalovirus. So we felt also this needed to be shown so that people could be aware, and we hope to look for alternatives for making sure we have CMV-free units for our patients that require them. I joined BSH in 2016, and one of the benefits I've received is the constant update on practice. A lot of information coming about either guidelines, new principles, or opinions on how to manage patients or conditions that have to do with hematology. And I think that is the major thing. I get access to all the British Society of Haematology journal that comes out monthly, and that gets sent to my home country, Nigeria. Also, I have access to the website where I could look at the guidelines that are constantly being updated. Also, we'll get to interact with other hematologists in our field of specialties. One thing I also have just enjoyed with BSH is I was able to apply for sponsorship to attend this annual scientific meeting, and I got that, and I'm happy to have that. So those are some of the things I've benefited from being a member of BSH. One of the major highlights was having to sit with one of the survivors, leukemia survivors, who had a bone marrow transplantation, and went ahead to form a group, the B positive non-governmental organization, and they're really doing a lot of impact, addressing issues and talking to patients who are going through the same experience. And I think that's something we need to encourage in my society where I practice, to encourage patients who go through such experiences to form support groups to help others that might come or might get to experience it later. Also, I was able to attend the guideline sessions, and guideline session where I listened to the chairs of each of the sub units or the guideline preparation now, and it gave me an insight into what they go through to be able to develop guidelines, which we end up seeing on the BSH website, and talked about how these guidelines need to be frequently and constantly updated, because with constant updating, there are a lot of research going on, a lot of data coming out, and we need to just keep updating them so that we don't stay within the holding on to our old practices and get to give our patients the best. One of the things I would want to see at BSH meetings is an opportunity for participants to sit and interact, where you could see those, not just those who are presenting, but those who are also just participants, where they could interact with each other for better collaboration. And I don't know how that forum is going to be, but people would have to introduce themselves, state what centers they come from. It could be done on the conference app, actually, where you get to meet people. These details will be there, and you can be contacted so that there could be interdisciplinary collaborations among participants. So I think that's one thing we need to work on